Burning Grid, a professional grid-based forex trading EA focused on stability and long-term consistency, developed by Magma Software Solutions. Before we start, let me remind you what Burning Grid is doing. This is a grid system, but it has a hard exit as security feature. That means it does not hold positions forever like other grids, and it does not use martingale logic. We have 3 risk levels, so people with different account sizes can use it, and you can trade up to 35 symbols at the same time, so be aware that you can achieve a bigger drawdown when using a small account balance. Let's start with the low-risk profile for February. As with all Burning Grid configurations, drawdown is a constant component of the system and directly linked to the selected risk level. In the low-risk setup, only 2 strategies per symbol are active in parallel, which limits overall exposure but also slows down recovery phases. Looking at the data for this month, the profile shows a positive performance of just over 3%, with a maximum drawdown of around 21%. A key event during this period was a deeper drawdown phase caused by a single strategy reaching its predefined exit condition. This resulted in a realized loss, which is a planned and expected part of the system behavior. Over the course of the month, this loss was gradually compensated by other active strategies, leading to an overall positive result by the end of the period. This sequence clearly illustrates how the system operates, accepting controlled losses when required, while relying on diversification and multiple strategies to stabilize and recover performance over time. Overall, February reflects a stable environment for the low-risk profile, with moderate drawdown levels and a complete recovery into positive territory. Let's move on to the medium-risk profile for February. Compared to the low-risk setup, this configuration allows up to 4 strategies per symbol to run in parallel, which increases overall exposure and enables faster recovery phases. Looking at the data, the profile achieved a gain of just under 7% for the month, with a maximum drawdown of around 18%. During this period, 2 individual strategies reached their predefined exit conditions and were closed with a loss. These events are part of the system design and represent controlled, rule-based losses rather than unexpected behavior. What is particularly notable is how quickly these losses were absorbed. The remaining active strategies were able to compensate for both failed setups within the same month, resulting in a solid overall gain. This clearly highlights the advantage of the medium-risk configuration. With more strategies running in parallel, the system benefits from increased diversification and faster recovery dynamics. Overall, February demonstrates a strong and resilient performance for the medium-risk profile, combining moderate drawdown levels with efficient loss compensation and consistent upward development. Let's complete the picture with the high-risk profile for February. This configuration allows the highest number of strategies per symbol, resulting in the highest exposure and the most dynamic behavior. Looking at the data, the profile achieved a gain of just over 5% for the month, with a maximum drawdown of around 17%. During this period, 3 individual strategies reached their predefined exit conditions and were closed with a loss. This is the highest number of strategy failures across all profiles for this month. However, despite these losses, the system was still able to recover and finish the month in positive territory. This highlights the key characteristic of the high-risk setup. A higher number of parallel strategies increases both volatility and the system's ability to compensate losses more quickly. Compared to the other profiles, recovery phases are faster, but short-term fluctuations are more pronounced. Overall, February demonstrates that even with multiple controlled losses, the high-risk profile can maintain strong recovery dynamics and deliver consistent performance. Let's take a step back and look at the overall performance across all 3 risk profiles. This overview puts the individual results into a broader perspective and helps to better understand how Burning Grid behaves across different configurations. All 3 accounts were started with the same initial balance, allowing for a direct comparison between low, medium, and high-risk setups. From a pure performance standpoint, the scaling effect becomes very clear. The low-risk profile shows a total gain of around 170%, while the medium-risk profile reaches close to 490%, and the high-risk profile exceeds 660%. At the same time, this increase in performance is directly accompanied by higher drawdown levels. Low risk remains at just over 30% maximum drawdown, medium risk moves into the mid 40% range, and high risk reaches around 50%. This relationship between return and drawdown is consistent and expected. Higher exposure leads to higher potential returns, but also increases the depth of interim drawdowns. What is important to understand is that these results were achieved under relatively small account conditions. All accounts were operated with an initial balance of only €500, which is significantly below the recommended capital level for this system. The recommended starting balance is $10,000 or more. Running the system on such a small account size amplifies both gains and drawdowns, making the percentage figures appear more extreme than they would be under properly capitalized conditions. This means that while the relative performance looks very high, it also comes with increased pressure on the account during drawdown phases. With higher capital, these effects would be noticeably smoother and more stable. Looking beyond the raw numbers, the most important takeaway is the consistency of the system behavior across all three profiles. Despite differences in risk level, all setups follow the same underlying logic and produce a steady long-term upward development and balance. Short-term fluctuations, including strategy failures and drawdown phases, are part of the system design and are handled in a controlled and rule-based manner. As we have seen in the individual monthly results, even multiple strategy failures within a single period can be compensated over time through diversification and parallel execution. The scalability across different risk levels is one of the key strengths of Burning Grid. It allows traders to choose a configuration that matches their personal risk tolerance, while still relying on the same core system logic. In summary, the overall performance confirms that Burning Grid delivers consistent long-term growth across all risk profiles, with clearly defined trade-offs between drawdown and return, and a strong dependency on proper account sizing. There is also an important point about risk, because this is why the system stayed under control. As you can see in the report, the risk framework is very clear. There is a fixed grid depth, and we cap the number of positions per symbol. There is no martingale. Lot sizes come from the risk percent and from the available balance. We use hard exit rules. Every strategy has a predefined end of life, so we never get an infinite grid. And there is an event filter on by default to avoid high-impact news. This is exactly why even a bad sequence stays inside the drawdown envelope of each profile. And please remember, it works better if you run it with enough capital, around $10,000 per profile for the regular mode. And that's it. If you have questions about which risk profile is better for you or anything else, just leave a comment or contact support. You can also check the full statistics on Myfex's book. I'll leave the links in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next month.